Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is a virtual open house dedicated to the senior school at MIS, which means grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. We'll get started right away because we have a lot to cover and we want to provide as much time as possible for conversation and Q&A. We will be joined by three senior school experts in an interactive quiz bowl style Q&A. And I'll tell you more about this portion and how it will work before we start the quiz bowl. In the last 10 minutes of our hour, I'll open the floor for any of your questions that we haven't covered, and our middle and senior school admissions specialist, Denise Hitchen, will deliver our closing message and ensure that you know how to get in touch with her. Again, thank you for your interest in Munich International School. We hope this hour is a fun and efficient way to learn if our school is the right fit for your family. So let's get started. I'd now like to introduce you to our three senior school experts who will be answering frequently asked questions in an interactive quiz bowl. So before we get started, I'd like to ask each of our experts to introduce themselves and tell us where they're from and how long they have been at MIS. And we're going to start with Denise Hitchen, who is our middle and senior school admissions specialist. Denise, would you please tell us more about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Kerry, and welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. So, as Kerry says, my name's Denise. I work here in the admissions office with a number of other colleagues who have the pleasure and the privilege to introduce MIS to lots of prospective families. So I've been working in the admissions office for 10 years, but before that we came here for our daughter to attend MIS. So myself and my colleagues can also help families from different perspectives, both from the admissions roles, but also having our children here. So yes, we're happy to help families every single day in their questions about whether MIS is the right place for their children.
Thank you, Denise. And now I have two more experts to introduce you to. Let's begin with the gentleman you see on the screen, Anders Carlson. This is our senior school principal. Anders, would you please like to introduce yourself as well?
I will. So, as you will soon hear from my accent, I'm not from an Anglo-Saxon country. I'm from Sweden. I've been here for 13 years as a principal, and before that we lived in Brussels, in London, in Sweden, of course, and in Nairobi in Kenya. And I've been involved in IB School since 1994. That's about it.
Thank you. And the lady that's with you today is Supriti Singh, and she is actually in her first year at MIS in 10th grade. So Supriti, would you please tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Supriti Singh. I'm 15 years old. I'm in 10th grade here. This is my first year at MIS. I recently moved here from Delhi, which is in India. MIS is technically my 12th school. Since my father is a diplomat, I move around a lot, and I will be graduating from here.
Thank you for being with us today, experts, and we're going to go ahead and get started. And we will use question number 1 as an example of how this will work. So I'll show you this question on the screen. The same question will also be copied into the chat. So if you don't already, go ahead and open up the chat of this Q&A. So let's read this first question. You will see it in the chat right now. Can my child transition from a different curriculum into the IB program? A, no, they must come from another IB school. B, it's going to be extremely difficult. Or C, yes, it is possible to transfer from a different system. So in the chat, families, if you don't mind, take a guess. What do you think the correct answer is in the context of Munich International School? So we'll give you a couple seconds to think about it. So far, we have C as being the popular answer in the chat. I would like to go ahead and ask one of our experts to answer this question. How about we start with Denise? Can you please answer this question from the perspective of the admissions angle?
And yes, it is possible to transition to MIS from different academic programs, including in senior school, so grades 9 to 12. Every year we have new students coming into MIS from transferring from IB curriculums, but also from non-IB school academic programs, whether they're moving from Germany, from the US, from China, and so on. So it is possible and happens every single year.
And now I've also spotlighted Anders and Supriti because I'm definitely very interested to know what you think, Supriti, having come from 12 other schools. Tell us more about your academic journey. Is this your first IB school or just one of many?
Yes, so I've never done IB before. This is my first IB school, and I will say, like, my transition, it's been very well supported. I think the teachers here, they definitely do keep in mind that a lot of the students are new, and I mean, like, students are coming and going, so whether it comes to assignments or assessments or like the general grading process, the teachers are always open to explain it to you. And there's also like counselors present that we can like book a meeting with, book an appointment with if we have any doubts. So I felt very well supported, and yes, we can transition from another learning system.
That's wonderful to hear. And Anders, would you like to fill in any of the other gaps that people might want to know in terms of transitioning from a different school system into the IB in senior school?
I think what Supriti and Ms. Hitchen said explains it all. So truly the correct answer is C. Most of our new students do come from non-IB schools, and it may be for a start it may be odd for them, but after some weeks they know how to be in this system.
But I think now we're ready to move on to the second question in our quiz bowl. So you will see this copy pasted in the chat right now. How does senior school support new students? So Supriti, clearly you will be answering this one first. So A, what do you think? No support is provided? Have you had absolutely nobody helping you out through this, this transition? B, orientation, counseling, clubs, grade retreats, or C, students just find their own way from a variety of options to settle in. Could you talk to us first about this?
Yes, definitely the correct answer would be B. I had plenty of opportunities even before the school year like officially started to make friends, such as the orientation. I met fellow new students, and I was also given a tour by student ambassadors of the entire campus, which helped me navigate the school later on my first day when I couldn't find any of my classes. There's also, like I mentioned before, counselors always present there for you, that we can talk to about anything and whatever we want, any sort of support we need. There's also several clubs that we can join, whether it be for our services action, which is basically community service during the lunch periods, or we can sign up for after school activities. And the grade retreat, which is I think like usually like a 2-day grade retreat, which happens near the beginning of the academic year. I went somewhere near Austria and we went canoeing. It was really fun. So I had plenty of opportunities to make friends and settle in.
That's wonderful, wonderful news. And Anders, did you want to expand on any portion of the transition program for new students entering senior school?
Yes. So everything Supriti has said is correct. However, there are always some students, it takes time for them to settle in. I mean, some like Supriti herself, it just happened right away. But for some, it may take a few months. And for others, it may take 4 months before they are happy here. They may be homesick. They may be in touch with their old friends from their old school. And yeah, but then once they are established here, it will change their lives.
Yes, I think I could ask a million questions to Supriti about the transition, especially having just come from Delhi. How about the weather, everything? Has there been anything in particular that you found to be the most challenging?
I would like to go back to what Mr. Carlson said before. Of course, I completely get that feeling of being a new student. And obviously, since like I'd been in my last school for about 3 years, I missed my old friends quite a lot. I will say, there will be like the first few weeks, they will be challenging. I mean, as they would be at any other school, especially if you're joining in high school, because at this age, kids usually they have their own friend groups. But I feel like there's somebody for everybody. You will find your people here. Just I think it does take like a few weeks to settle in, definitely.
Yeah. And I'm wondering about the canoe trip. Have you ever canoed before?
I had canoed a bit, but this was especially challenging. We did it for like a few hours, and I was so exhausted afterwards. But we had a campfire at night, and it was really nice.
Oh my gosh, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll stop asking about canoeing and we'll move on to question number 3. Okay, in the chat, you will see this posted as well. It's a true or false question. There is little time or possibility in senior school for athletics or clubs or any activities. I'll kick this one over to Sapriti again, and tell us what you think about this. True or false, and then please expand on your own experience.
I would say this is false. Definitely, I mean, activities don't really happen during the school hours, but after school, we can sign up for a ton of activities. MIS has everything that a student can imagine. So there's tons of sports, tons of like clubs otherwise. We can also join after like besides school. I'm doing music separately and keyboard. So yeah, there's a ton of time provided for activities.
Great. And Anders, I know we have so many different really, really cool opportunities in senior school, such as business at school, or there's just an enormous amount of co-curricular programs and programs embedded into the curriculum. Would you like to highlight any of those?
Yeah, well, yesterday we had a group coming home from Madrid. They had been on a speech and debate tournament, so they are competing in speaking, public speaking. And one of our students got a silver there. She was only in grade 9. Usually grade 12 students win that. So that is just one example. But there are many different kinds of, as Supriti said before, many different kinds of clubs. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just too many to even begin to to count. So it seems like there's something for everybody, like Supriti was saying, no matter what your interest area is. I hope that people feel pretty well covered in terms of their interests. And so now let's go over to question number 4. What are some major events in grade 10? Maybe some of the families as well in the chat can take a guess at this one. How much do you know about the IB curriculum, specifically in grade 10? Do you think the answer is A, some major events include personal projects, e-assessments, MYP e-assessments, and work experience in grade 10? Or B, extended essay, 3 standard and 3 high-level courses, or C, SATs and ACTs? How about we begin with Anders? Would you please tell us more about what the correct answer is for this question?
No, I will pass it on to Supriti because she's in grade 10.
Yes.
Go for it.
So the correct answer is A, personal project, e-assessment, and work experience. So can I just elaborate a little bit on every single one of them?
Sure.
Okay. So the personal project is it's a requirement in the IB MYP program. And it's basically we have to choose something that we're interested in and basically work on it and make it a project and have a learning goal. And yeah, we just have to write a report on it. E-assessments happen at the around the end of the school year, and they're basically these assessments about what we've been learning for in 9th and 10th grade. And my personal favorite thing about this school is the work experience program. This happens in grade 10. I think we get about 3 weeks, if I'm not wrong, at the end of the school year to actually get some work experience and work in an actual workplace in an area that we're possibly interested in for our future. And I think it's an amazing way to figure out what we want for the future, as well as actually learn like work ethic.
Yeah, and what are you thinking about for your work experience? Do you have
Oh,
anything,
uh,
any ideas?
yes, I was thinking of probably working at a bank or something related to finance, because that's what I'm interested in.
Oh, very interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And Anders, did you want to point out what some of the differences might be for families who might think that B and C is part of the curriculum?
Yes. So B, that's the grade 11 and 12, what we call the diploma program. And C, that is what we offer for students who want to study in the United States to do these assessments, or you could say some kind of entrance test to the US system. We offer these here.
Not at all. Thank you. How about we move on to question number 5? All MIS students have to study German. True or false? How about Denise? Would you like to weigh in on this one? Again, from an admissions perspective, I know many families are concerned about this if they're coming from overseas, especially.
Yeah, so across the school, pretty much all students do study German, but we have different levels of ability in all of the grade levels. So anybody coming into, because this session is for senior school, anybody coming into grades 9 and 10 would be placed into their appropriate level of German. And then studying into grades for grade 11 and 12, it depends on what their subject selection is. So we have a German ab initio language option as one of the language options for the IB diploma program. But anybody coming into MIS who doesn't have any German level of experience, then they no need to worry, because we have beginner levels in senior school.
Thank you. And how about Supriti? Can you tell us more about your German language learning journey? I'm assuming you have never lived in Germany before, but that might not be true.
I did live in Germany, but that was when I was around 4 years old, so I was very, very young. And I did study some German prior to coming to MIS. When I was in Delhi, I used to take German as a language. However, I wasn't like properly exposed to it, so I wouldn't say I was very good at it. But coming here, I was evaluated, and they basically MIS offers German at very different levels, because they keep in mind that like some students coming in might not know German at all. Like some of my friends, they have like never been to Germany, never spoken German, never learned it. And there's also a class for them, which is like the beginner level. So yeah, there's different levels, and I think the teachers evaluate you based on like how much you know.
Wonderful. How do you feel so far in terms of, it's been a few months of you now being, as you said, properly exposed to a German environment. How are you doing personally with your studies?
Um, I'm doing pretty great actually. Like in the beginning, I was very confused about the grading process and the assessments, especially like criterion A, B, C, D. But with like all of my teachers' help, I've kind of figured it out by now. I've gotten the hang of it.
Wonderful. Okay, that's great. And Anders, did you want to expand on this?
I think this is enough. Thank you.
This covers it.
Yeah.
Well, the next question is all about people coming in and expecting then to go into German university, possibly. What are the options? Can my child go on to study at a German university with the IB diploma? I know there's a little bit of technicality around this. Would you like to speak more about it?
I can touch on that because I know it was one of the questions earlier in the chat. So yes, students can have their IB recognised as equivalent to the Abitur, so have the possibility to go on to study in German universities. Obviously, every German university will have their own requirements, both in terms of the IB recognition, but also in particular, obviously, language requirements. So there's obviously a lot of sometimes research by the families to, if they're wishing for their child to go to a German university, as to what those requirements would be in terms of IB diploma recognition and also language requirements. But yes, every year we do have students go to a German university. And for students entering into grades 11 and 12, in particular for 11. One of the questions we ask on their course selection form is German recognition a requirement or a wish. And so when new students are coming in and when we're looking at their applications, new students also meet with one of our guidance counsellors to discuss their subject selection. And so, yes, it is possible every single year.
Thank you, Denise. All right, I think that takes us pretty easily into question number 7. Maybe you can continue to speak more about this, Denise,
Okay.
from an admissions perspective.
Sure.
So in the chat, you'll see my child doesn't have a high level of English. Can they still come to MIS? And could you go through those different options for us, A, B, or C, Denise?
Yeah, so entering senior school is different to entering into other areas, other grade levels of MIS, where more personalised level of English language support is given. So there is an expectation for students entering into grades 9 and above to have a particular level of English, because less support is provided within senior school. So when we're looking at an application for a student coming into MIS, we'll be looking at their academic background, their English level, and so on. For some non-native language, English language applicants, we'd be looking at their application to determine whether they might need to, we'd need them to take an English placement assessment or English test. And what we often do is arrange through the families to liaise with their current school, and more often than not we arrange for that student to take our English test at their current school, because we need to make sure that when they come to MIS their level of English is at a level that will enable them to be supported and able to deal with the academic program in senior school.
Perfect. And can I ask, Supriti, can you answer this question from the angle of a more how it works to create friends and socialize in a very, very multilingual student body? Can you talk to us more about your experience?
Yes. So, to my knowledge, I mean, all the classes are definitely taught in English, but I met a few students who their level of English wasn't that high before they joined MIS, but there is proper support provided. About the environment, it's definitely very open. People are used to meeting people from other countries. Yeah, so I've had no trouble like feeling like I fit in. And yeah, people are pretty welcoming otherwise.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like your English level is not in question, but in terms of just making friends in an environment that's very multilingual, you haven't seen this to be a barrier for people other than yourself, I mean.
No, it hasn't really been a barrier. I mean, people here do speak German, but I think mostly people, it's in international schools, so everybody converses in English. So it hasn't really been a problem.
Awesome. Okay, that's really wonderful to get your perspective on that. And Anders, did you want to fill in any gaps?
I think all has been said.
Good. And how about then, since we don't have very much time left, and I've seen some of the questions in the chat, I think let's hop on over to a different question. Question number 9, let's go over to that one. And Preeti, maybe you can talk about this one first. How does the senior school prepare students for their next steps in life? Because I have seen in the chat people who are wondering about university acceptances and where people are going after they graduate from MIS. So maybe let's talk a little bit about how MIS prepares people for next steps. A, IB is rigorous and university prep focused. So we do expect all of our students to go on to top level universities. Is that correct? B, university counseling support. C, clubs and co-curricular activities. Or D, all of the above.
For me, I do have an interest in math, so I'm planning to study something math related, preferably economics and finance. I'm planning to double major. But here at this school, it's not only about applying to German universities. A lot of students go abroad, not only to America, to UK, to Europe, to other European countries. And definitely, I think it's because I mean, in 11th and 12th grade, I've talked to a few of my friends in 11th and 12th grade, and there is a huge workload. It is very academically challenging. But at the same time, it prepares you so well for your first university years. There's also a lot of university counseling support, and if I'm not mistaken, even the alumni have a counseling support for an entire year after they graduate. There's also clubs and co-curricular activities that we can join after school. So, and then also coming on like talking about a day-to-day basis, the school tries to reflect an environment that will be similar to our future and our future workplaces. So, like teaching us things like self-control, especially with technology, self-control, self-reliance, collaboration with others. Yeah, I would say it prepares us pretty well for our future.
Wow, you definitely couldn't have said any of that any better. That was
I
incredible to
agree.
hear. Wow. And Anders, I don't know if you want to expand on that, but for someone like Supriti who wants to go on to higher ed, study finance, those are some pretty major goals. What are we doing to help support her ambitions and prepare her for success after MIS?
I mean, she has said the most important things, but what is also important is that you have teachers who know the IB well, teaches it well, that takes you towards the exams to get good results. And that's what Supriti has. I know.
Yeah, I don't,
That's
I
the
don't, I,
most
for some,
important thing.
I definitely believe in her. I'm pretty sure she's going to be able to do anything that she wants when she
Yeah,
graduates
because
from
I
MIS.
just want to add in, Kerry, that just as Anders said, quite a number of our teachers are chief examiners and all of the IB curriculum. So as Mr. Carlson says, you know, we do understand the curriculum very thoroughly. And so students entering into the IB diploma programme are well supported because we have a lot of staff here who also contribute to the development of the IB curriculum.
Yes, and I believe Mr. Timothy Thomas overviewed this a little bit from his whole school presentation that we watched earlier in this program. But the results from the graduating class of last year in terms of their IB exam results, if I remember correctly, and Mr. Anders, you could maybe correct this if need be, but were we about 6 points above the global average? I believe the average pass points were 36 last year, if that's correct, with a 98% pass rate, I believe. Can you let me know if I'm correct on those?
This is all correct.
And therefore, with those results, on average, we would be very well positioning our students to go on to some of the top universities in the world.
Yes.
So I hope that answers some of the questions in the chat for families who are very, very focused on next steps for MIS graduates and if they're prepared or not for some of the best universities in the world. So pretty confidently, we have numbers that can point to that answer being pretty clearly yes.
The IB is recognised worldwide for entry into universities. And so even today, I believe that we've got different universities visiting our school where representatives from those universities are talking to our students about applying to them. So not only do universities value and recognise the rigour of the IB diploma programme, they also recognise how well our students leave MIS. So we have many universities from throughout the world visiting us individually, but also our fantastic guidance counsellors in the senior school organise university fairs. So both students and parents can get to know on an individual basis representatives from universities throughout the world.
Wonderful to hear this. And I think now is a great time in the last few minutes of our hour to open the floor for any questions that families would like to put in the chat. So, well, we have one. All right, one popped up very quickly. So we have a question in the chat. I'll go ahead and read it. how much time should a grade 10 student with no German language foundation spend learning German for each week at school? Okay, so I guess to interpret this question a little bit, we would have to know more about the goal in terms of what they're trying to achieve with their German language learning. So taking that into consideration, maybe Supriti, would you tackle this question?
Yeah, I think that depends on how much German you want to learn. But for me personally, I think I have it also depends on your schedule, but I have German every week for about 2 to 3 hours, and I feel like that is enough time because not only do we learn German, the teachers also speak to us in German. We're also expected to communicate in German, so it's very much we're put in an environment where we're supposed to communicate through German. So yeah.
But since you're entering in grade 10, the expectation would not be that you are fluent in German by the time you graduate. So I think
No.
this question is a little difficult because I need to understand what they think the outcome would be. Anders, would you mind expounding on that a little bit?
Yes. So typically, if you enter MIS from into grade 10, you will not go to a German university. There are exceptions, and Supriti may be one exception, but even though she studied some German before. So typically you don't get to that level in grade 12 in German. But I mean, you learn. So then you learn German here just like any other subject, you could say, which is useful just living here. But it's not towards German university.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out. Denise, did you want to add anything?
No, I've just seen that Daniel has just written, not for the IB, just to use it for the day-to-day life. So yes, students would in senior schools, in particular for grades 9 and 10, we have beginners. So if they're coming beginners, intermediates, advanced, and then for students entering grade 11 but do wish to study German, then we have the German ab initio option. So that would enable them to deal with some of those day-to-day life, day-to-day things.
Oh, very much. And Supriti, you pointed out that in general, people are socializing on campus in English. How about outside? Because you are new to Germany, kind of, even though you were a young child when you lived here before. But if we're talking about day-to-day life, do you find that your German is adequate, or are you struggling in day-to-day life? Tell us more about just outside of school as well.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm exactly struggling most of the time. If there's something, I mean, I can like speak like day-to-day things, basic things, but if it is something more complicated, I find that most people here can speak a little bit of English, so I don't really have any trouble communicating with anybody.
Thank you. Well, I hope that answered the question for the family in the chat. Thank you very much for asking. And so now, to finish up our hour today, I want to say a very big thank you to our experts, all of them. And I know Supriti actually needs to go back to school. So I want to say a very, very big thank you for giving us this time to be with us in the virtual open house. And thank you to Anders as well. For the very final question, though, this one, I'm kicking it over to Denise because it's very much an admissions related question. So we'll say goodbye to Anders and Supriti. And Denise, I'm kicking it to you to end our hour today. And please tell us more information about how can I get my child into MIS?
Yes, sure, love to. So it is possible to apply to MIS. Mostly right now, we've just started accepting applications for entering the 25-26 school year, starting for us next August. So to do that, families would visit our website and go to our admissions pages, and there you'll across the whole website you'll find a wealth of information about all different levels of grades of our school. But if you wish to apply, there's a little button there that you can then click on, and we have a fantastic online application process which will guide all our applicants through what needs to happen. You can also submit an inquiry, whether you'd like to arrange a phone call or indeed a visit to MIS, where we offer individual visits, but also some group visits sometimes. So the best way to get in touch with us is to visit our website, and you can also place an inquiry, and also maybe to submit your application. If there are any families interested in 24-25, so this remaining 6 months of the school year, quite a number of our grades are full. So I would ask that you send an inquiry or an email to us, or give us a call regarding any place availability for this school year. But we wouldn't be able to accept any applications for senior school. I know this particular session is senior school related. So for families who are interested for this school year, please get in touch with us directly before submitting an application. But for anybody for 25-26, we look forward to hearing from you.